This is Gary Wakefield, and you're listening to Queer Life Stories. It is our very first episode, and I'm joined today by my friend and colleague Paige. We've worked together for a couple of years now, and Paige has very kindly offered to be the first guest on this new podcast. So thank you, Paige. Welcome. Can you introduce yourself a little bit for me?
Yeah, so my name is Paige Harvey. I'm 24 years of age. I identify as lesbian.
Cool.
We're so awkward.
When and where did you grow up?
So I lived in Zen until I was about 6. Moved up to the northwest coast, lived up here most of my life up until I was about, I think, 13. Lived in Queensland for a couple of years as well, so I moved up there when I was 13 up until I was like 17. Come back down here, and then I've just been back to Queensland again and back again, so kind of back and forth between Tasmania and Queensland for a little while. I was quite young in the 90s, so I would say late 90s, early 2000s is when, that kind of, 2000-ish,
So you're a millennial?
Yeah, I can't say that word, so I won't say it, but yes. My parents separated when I was 6 years old. Like a lot of kids went through that. So my dad ended up getting a new partner. My mum got a new partner. I never got along with my mum, my stepmum that my dad was with for 19 years. So we clashed a lot. She was a horrible person, needless to say. My mum got with my stepdad Rick, and he's fantastic. He took on 3 kids without ever having any kids before, had 3 kids with my mum. Everything's been great there. My dad's now separated from that partner he was with and couldn't be happier. I think my family's pretty alright. You know, everyone gets along really well. They didn't just start off with, obviously, mum getting a new partner, my dad getting a new partner's conflict, but life wasn't too bad growing up. It wasn't too bad at all.
What was the stepmother like? What was the issue there?
Oh, she was nasty. Nasty to the point where she would call me names behind my dad's back. She made me very depressed. She was one of the reasons that I first started self-harming myself, because of the way that she treated me, which she would do this behind closed doors that no one else would see. So my dad wouldn't see what was going on or anything like that. And when I confronted my dad about it, he said, she would never do anything like that. So that was hard, because I lived in Queensland for a bit and things weren't working up there. So I moved back down and I lived with my dad, and that was the worst 7 months of my life. I wanted to run away from home. I just didn't want to be there. I wanted to go back up to my mum, but it wasn't the right timing for anything. But she did make me very, very depressed. Yeah, she was nasty. If we weren't like her kids, we weren't perfect, and that's what it annoyed me a lot. And my dad did spend a lot of time with her kids instead of us, and that did hurt a lot growing up, because I didn't feel like I had a connection with my dad like I should have had, because it felt like all I remember is he left when I was 6, and I don't remember seeing him until I was 10. But I lived with them when I was about 13 or 14, and especially being a teenager, trying to come to terms with my sexuality, not telling people, or and having a lot of other things built up inside me as well. That was also very hard.
When did you first self-identify as a lesbian?
Within myself, I knew I liked girls since about 6th grade, so I would have been about 12 years old, is when I first started looking online, maybe at some things that I probably shouldn't have looked at a 12-year-old, but I was curious and everything, and I was more attracted to looking at the female body than I was looking at the male body. That was kind of like, I was like, there's something wrong with me, this is weird, I shouldn't be doing this, because you grow up knowing male, female, that's all that's together. And then I never had anybody around me at that age, like same sex or anything like that. So that was a little bit hard. But I would say that at the age of 12, I would have known in myself that I liked girls. I kept it a secret. You know, there was times where there was girls at school that I was attracted to and everything like that, but I would never tell anybody. I kept it a secret. Like, you know, they'd walk past and I was like, oh my God, I'm so in love with you. But, you know, they never knew that. No one ever knew what was going on because I put this front up that I was the straightest girl that you could get. I never had my first, you know, like I was quite, you know, a late bloomer with things because everyone was having their first kisses at a young age, and I didn't do anything until I was the age of 16 because I was like, that's not what I want, but I did it because I wanted to be normal, to fit into the society's normal criteria list. So yeah, growing up I was confused, just more confused within my own self and how my brain was like, you know, I'd be like, okay, you like this boy, but then I would always just retract back to like, oh, she's cute. But yeah, I didn't know at that age if this was right or anything.
You had relationships during those years?
Yeah, I've had many and plenty of boyfriends between my first boyfriend at the age of 16, and then I had numerous boyfriends up until I met my current partner. Needless to say, they weren't the best relationships. I did go with a lot of very attractive, very controlling men. That weren't good for me at all. I got very mistreated in all of the relationships, you know, cheated on, abused, mentally, physically, emotionally. I think I mainly stuck around because I was like, this is normal. I thought this was normal, but I never enjoyed the sexual side of things or the romantic side of things. I did also have a lot of online relationships, so where I didn't have to physically have any contact with them, but knowing that I was in like dating a boy on the internet and everyone could see that, I felt like everything was normal.
So going back to your school years then,
yeah.
What was the environment like for gay people at school?
So I had gay friends. I wouldn't say I had lesbian friends or anything. They were gay men, but I don't know, because I always thought, you know, there was always that insult when you're at primary school or when you're in high school. It was like, you're a faggot. And that was to insult somebody, but that shouldn't be to insult somebody. So I always found like, oh, you're gay, oh, you're a lesbian, like that kind of stuff was like, that's what I was scared of. That's what I was scared was going to happen to me. That happened to my friends that were out. I didn't want that to happen to me. I didn't want people to know. I was already different as it was. Like, I've got stretches, I've got piercings. I had that through school and everything as well. And I already got put in a category of being an emo kid. I couldn't even walk down to the tuck shop or the canteen or whatever you call it without having my headphones in, without getting thrown abuse of saying to go slit my wrist or go kill myself or something like that. So I didn't want to add something else on top of that. I watched what they went through, and I didn't want that to happen to me. I stood up for them, of course I did. Because I went to a school in Queensland, a majority of the time that had about 1,800 students. It was a very multicultural, diverse school, and it was hard because it was hard to fit into a place like that, because regardless of it, that, you know, you'd walk to the canteen, you'd have your footy jocks, you'd have your cheerleaders, you'd have all of that, like you know, if you sat, like, you know, you walk past and they're like, oh, those guys are the freaks, or those guys are that. So you'd always be put in a category no matter what. And I didn't want to be, like, you know, I was already in one category, I didn't want to be in another. So I kind of just kept myself as it was and just kept pretending. Because I just, watching my friends go through it was just hard enough. And I just, like, I mentally, physically, emotionally, anything in me could not just go through it again, because I was already depressed and I was already self-harming. So I didn't want to make anything worse. I would self-harm because that was relieving something that I couldn't relieve in any other way without talking to people. Like, I'm the kind of person that does bottle things up for a long time and won't express myself. And I did it for years and years. You know, I only came out 4 years ago that I was gay, and that and that's when I met my partner. That's when I decided to go, look, I'm being honest with myself, and I don't want to live like this anymore. Like, a lot of emotions come out when I met her. Yeah, that was probably the hardest thing, like bottling things up and keeping things a secret when I could have just let them out, but I was too scared to. So that caused a lot of my anxiety, depression, and just being paranoid about, like, you know, are they talking about me because, like, I look weird, or do they know, or, like, you know, do people know? I would say throughout the day I was a straight woman. At night I was a lesbian as lesbian can be. I was always talking to girls online, always going on like Bebo, MySpace, MSN, doing all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I definitely spoke to a lot of lesbians online. I think that was some of the best friendships I developed online. I made a lot of friends. I was more of an online person than I was making friends in person, because I could be who I really wanted to be online in a way. So I'd have accounts where I wouldn't say they were fake accounts. I was still photos of me, but I would go by a different name, or I'd go by something else, or go into the chat rooms and everything like that. And it was good. Like I could talk to them about the things that I was feeling, and they would do the same thing, because a lot of them were in the same situation as me, that weren't comfortable to come out in actual real life, and could just talk to people on the internet. And it was really good. I confided in a lot of people there, and they did help me through a lot of hard times. Yeah.
So you met Maddie, your current partner, before you came out.
Yes.
Tell me about meeting Maddie.
Well, Maddie was probably like the first proper girl I had a massive crush on, but she didn't even know who I was. We went to Hellier together. I was the weird kid that would sit with their headphones in the lunchroom and just watch people and everything. And I saw her walk past, and I was like, she's hot. And from then, kind of like, obviously years have gone by. I've come and gone from back here to Queensland, back here and everything like that. And so in 2015, I moved back from Queensland after being up there for about 6 months. And I just was walking in Burnie, and I was like, there's that girl I had a crush on, like that really good looking girl. And I was like, she looks even better now, because she actually got a haircut. So she looked a lot better. So I just went on Facebook, and I went through all the lesbians that I knew, because I knew she was gay, because she had a girlfriend in at Hellier. So I was like, I went through all the lesbians that I knew on Facebook, and I was just like, where is she? What is her name? And I finally found her. So I added her on Facebook, and I was like, hurry up and accept me. Weeks went by, we kept each other on Facebook, liking each other's things, and I was just like, nah, I might as well say hey. And we just started talking on Facebook. I asked her to meet up for coffee, met up with her, and she was quite disappointed, because I told her I don't drink coffee, so there was no point of meeting up for coffee. We talked for about 2 weeks after that, and then 2 weeks later she was like, oh hey, you want to be my girlfriend? And we've been together for 4 years now. So I kind of think it was meant to be, like me leaving, coming back and seeing her again, and everything just falling into line. It just felt perfect. I saw her and I was like, okay, I'm going to try and talk to her and pursue it, but when she first messaged me, she's like, I didn't know you were gay. And I just said, well, no one knows I'm gay. Yes, so I'm glad that I met her the way that I did meet her, stalking Facebook. It works. And definitely knowing who she was previously, just so I kind of got the kind of crowd she'd hang around with. She was, very musical and stuff like that, and that kind of attracted me to her as well, because I knew she played guitar and everything like that. So that was another bonus, that I know that she was good with, I was going to say good with her fingers. Because we started talking and everything, I was driving with my sister in the car, and I was like, Tanil, you promise you're not going to judge me? And she's like, over what? I said, just promise you're not going to judge me. I said, I've given you shit your whole life for this. Because I used to always call my sister a lesbian, because I was like, covering for myself. I was like, you're such a lesbian. And I was like, and she goes, what? And I was like, I think I'm gay. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I'm gay. I'm gay. So, and then she was just like, okay. And she's like, have you been talking to someone? I said, yeah, I've met this girl. Her name's Madison. Or Maddie. She works at McDonald's, so this is when she was working at McDonald's at the time. And she was just like, oh, of course I was never going to judge you. She was, I had a feeling that you were gay anyway. And I was like, oh, you're probably just confused and stuff. But then when I actually came out to her, she was just like, I always had a feeling that you might have been, because the amount of times you called me a lesbian. I was like, shut up, I know. I was covering for something. So that was easy to come out to my sister, and then I was like, oh crap, how am I going to tell my mum? Like, what am I going to go to my mum? Because I just sat down with mum, and probably shouldn't say exactly what my mum said, but this is honest truth. So I sat down, I was like, hey mum, and she's like, hey, and I was just like talking to this girl. Mum just turns around and she goes, you lesbian? I said, yeah, and she goes, you lick pussy? I said, mum, and she goes, no, but do you? I was like, mum, just be serious for a moment. And then mum goes, well, what does she look like? So I showed her photos on Facebook and went through all of that as well. And then mum goes, oh, she works at Macca's, is she working tonight? And I said, yeah. And she goes, all right, we'll go over there. Went through the Macca's drive-through and it was the most awkward thing. Mum goes out of the drive-through and she goes, she's fucking hot. And I was like, okay, so mum's kind of all cool with this, so that's cool. So mum thinks it's all good. And pretty much with everybody else, my little siblings and everything, they're fine with it. They love her to bits. Like, my little sister loves her so much as well, which if you're listening, Molly, I think you have a crush on her, so stop. But no, everyone gets along with us so well, like, and coming out was so easy. Like, I just told my dad and Dad's like, cool. I just told everyone, they were just happy with it. So, and like everyone's told me, it's the best relationship I've ever been in. Like, they've seen such a big change within me, and being happy and not being as depressed and just, you know, going through life. And I'm so glad that I did finally come out. And I, you know, after 21 years of not saying anything, you know, it was hard, but I think I just had to wait till I found the right person to just say, this is what I want to do in life and this is where I want to be. So some people acted a bit different around me and stuff like that. There's been some times where there's been certain people where they're like, oh, I didn't realise, like when I told them I had a girlfriend, they're like, oh, I didn't realise you're gay, but nothing against you, but I don't like that. But there's nothing against you, but I'm not for that. And I'm just like, okay. There was some like people on Facebook. I did delete a few people off Facebook after the yes vote and everything. They're carrying on like, I'm not voting for this shit, and I was just like, well, bye. Because, you know, I'm out by then. I want to marry the person that I'm in love with. So, you know, there was a few people that I did cut out. I've had bad doctor's experiences. You know, a doctor had made me feel very uncomfortable. I went in there literally for, I'm pretty sure it was a sore throat or something like that. Saw that I was on some antidepressants and he's like, oh, so what's your libido like? And I was like, okay, what's this got to do with this? But I was like, oh, fine. And then he's just like, oh, are you sexually active? And I said, I've been with my partner for X amount of time. And then he went in and he's just like, oh, does he wear protection? I said, I'm in the same sex relationship. And then it got uncomfortable from there. So it got to the point where the doctor was just like, oh, so how long does it take you to orgasm? And I said, I don't know. And then he's like, oh, do you use toys? Oh, and it started getting weird and weird like that. And I thought, oh, you're getting off on this. Or something like that. Made me feel really uncomfortable. And because I was there by myself, I just didn't know what to say. And I was just like, no. And then I left and I called Maddie and I said, why would he ask me these questions? And she goes, he's disgusting. And that was disgusting. I haven't gone back to him since, but I felt very uncomfortable and I shouldn't feel that way. I don't really socialise as it is. Like, I come to work, I go home, I go to my dogs and Maddie, and that's it. Like, I'm not really a social butterfly or anything like that. I'm not really a social butterfly or anything like that, so I don't go out and just socialise with people. I'm just more of a hermit, you know. I have gay friends and lesbian friends and bi friends and everything like that, but I just don't like spending time with people. I just don't like leaving home.
So having a sort of support network around you that LGBT is not a priority, really?
I wouldn't say in person, but definitely on the internet. That's like, I spend a lot of my time on that. So that's probably where I've got more of my community kind of based on there without me actually socialising with people. I'm so awkward in person with people. I don't know how to keep conversations. I just sit there and I'm like, okay. So I just rather keep it as it is. Like, I follow a lot of groups and a lot of Instagram pages and everything like that. So that's definitely something that helps me as well. If I have, you know, they're here, they're there for me, I'm there for them. I feel like there is things that have changed, but there's things that still, like, you know, feels like we're going 10 steps forward, 5 steps back. Like, is it ever going to be accepted, or is it ever going to be something that is is right in society. So I can definitely see the change that has already gone through, especially with, being able to marry the person that you love now. But I feel like the prides and everything like that, and there's still those people that are there that have to ruin a good time. And it's just like, get over it. We're in 2019 now. Everything's changing. If you want to be who you want to be, that's the hardest thing though, because you've got all these people that are still there to criticise you or to push you down. So I feel like society's moved forward in regards to some things, but not others.
There was a sort of story I saw on the news today, a teenager who woke up in the middle of the night to his father slitting his throat, saying, "You're gay, you're gay." He managed to get his father away and jump off the balcony to safety.
Oh, wow.
But he's got a scar over his neck where his own father, tried to kill him.
So imagine living like that. I just feel so lucky and blessed that I grew, where I am and how my family accepts it and everything. It's just so sad because it's just scary. It honestly is scary because, that's like you said in the intro of your podcast, you don't see many gay or lesbians holding hands down the street because we're scared to, because of how people react. We're just humans that just want to love as much as any straight person does. So it frustrates me, but I try not to get angry in public too often. So in my future, I really, just looking at the same thing, currently in the process of saving up so we can look at buying a house. So I would love to buy a house so we can live a bit out of town, because I've got 3 dogs at the moment. I am hoping, listen Maddie, that one day that she would propose to me. So I definitely know she's got me an engagement ring, so propose to me. I'd love to get married and have a fantastic wedding and everything. So I just hope that, the future just goes smoothly. We finally get a house together, have land, and just live happily together and be old and super cute together. So I just want to say to the listeners that, at any time if you feel like, you don't have the support and you don't have anyone there for you, as Gary has said in his introduction or anything like that, he's got the Facebook, the Instagram, or anything like that, the Twitter of the Queer Life Stories, where you can reach out to somebody if you need to talk. Myself or, Gary or anybody would be happy to talk to anybody if they're feeling unsure within themselves, or if they're going through a dark time of depression, anxiety, or finding who they truly are. So there definitely is those options to come and reach out to us if you ever need to talk to anybody. Just to know that you're never alone and there's always going to be someone here for you.
If you're struggling with your own mental health and you need support, contact Beyond Blue on 1300 22 4636 or Lifeline on 131114. Both services are available 24/7. If you'd like to tell your story, share your experiences, or would just like to get in touch, email me at queerlifestories@outlook.com. As Paige said, you can find us on social media as well, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Just search for Queer Life Stories. You can support this podcast and get behind the scenes glimpses by subscribing to us at Patreon. That's patreon.com/queerlifestories. We'll be back soon. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself and each other.